What is up, beautiful people of the internet? I go by the name of Wesley, and today I am immensely excited to bring you a TierZoo reaction, one of my absolute favorite content creators on the platform. And today we are reacting to how Mosasaurus broke the game. I don't know what Mosasaurus is. The only thing that I can think of when I hear the name Mosasaurus is that this is a dinosaur that somehow led the other dinosaurs out of Egypt, but then had to wander in the desert for 40 years and never made it to the promised land. That being said, I have no idea what we're in for here, but I love TierZoo. I trust TierZoo. TierZoo bless. And let's jump into it. Subscribe for more reactions, and please let me know if there's other videos you want to see me react to, whether from TierZoo or other content creators. Let's go. I'm gonna hit it. I always miss it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yowza. Is that electricity? This is so scary. Whoa. Damn. Dang, he hucked him. If I'm the T-Rex, I'm getting out of the water. Like, run, bro. This is not your photography. Crap.
The dinosaur clips in this video are from documentaries you can find.
Can we talk about that? Was insane. I'm like, T-Rex, why are you in the water? What are you doing? Are you trying to like take a bubble bath? Get out of the water, dude. For your sake. You're such an apex predator on the land. What are you doing? Like playing around in the kiddie pool. There's scary stuff there, and you can't. Your arms are this big. You can't like butterfly stroke. What are you doing?
Curiosity stream. More on them at the end of the video. Mosasaurus, one of the most feared marine builds in the history of the game. The Mesozoic expansion is often referred to as the Age of Reptiles.
I love this music.
And while it is true that the Archosaurs, the reptile faction containing builds like the dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds, and crocodiles, did indeed dominate the Mesozoic, the same cannot be said for the other faction of reptiles, the lizard. For them, it was quite the opposite. They spent a good portion of that expansion's metagame getting griefed hard by the top-tier dinosaurs and pterosaurs.
I'm sorry, I know every time lizards come on, I get so excited about how they shimmy. They shimmy like they're looking for a buck at a strip club. I love it. I love how they run.
However, they did eventually adapt, and by the end of it, there was a lizard just as powerful as the most overpowered dinosaurs, the Mosasaurus. But how did the lizard player base adapt in order to survive the hostile dinosaur meta? Let's look at the specific traits that the ancient lizard mains spec'd into in order to gain a foothold in the Mesozoic meta.
It looks like a Pokemon evolution
Lizards
tree,
tend to
it?
have below average base stats. Their bite attacks aren't very powerful, usually only useful for grabbing targets below their weight class, like insects and other small builds. They don't usually incorporate other combat techniques into their build like sharp claws, venom, or team strategies either, and instead try to rely on more janky gimmicks like intimidating frills, detachable tails, and tether grabs to get by. This works because their cold blood requires a lot less food to keep their playthrough going, so they don't actually need—
That lizard kind of looks like sentient testicles a little bit, doesn't it, right here? I mean, maybe I'm the only one who can see it. Was I the only one? No one else thought that, did they? That's just me. Oh, shoot.
to be that active or powerful in order to avoid starvation. However, this isn't true for all lizard builds. The monitor lizard faction, which includes famous high-tier lizards like the Komodo and Parenti, break with that trend and spec into faster metabolism, ramping up their base stats, but forcing them to play a bit more actively. It was this player base that developed the early Mosasaur build by avoiding the common gimmicks other lizard mains went for, and instead choosing a difficult, unconventional set of abilities, including water mobility and, most surprisingly, the live birth respawn perk.
What?
Having a terrible, completely one-sided matchup against dinosaurs and pterosaurs meant that when the pressure was on, the monitor lizard player base's best option wasn't to run, nor was it to hide. Their best option was to completely switch up their playstyle and become a marine build. This synergized extremely well with their live respawn perk, because it let them avoid the spawn killing that was so oppressive to the other reptiles at the time. While builds like the turtle frequently got their nests raided, the Proto-Mosasaurus build could respawn in water away from the dinosaur spawn killers, but in too shallow of water for top-tier sharks and fish to grief them. It was actually the perfect environment for them to thrive in, and eventually they just ended up staying in the water and not even bothering with returning to the terrestrial server to hunt. Their wide-hinged jaws, which were decent at grabbing prey on land, were perfect for gulping down fish. Their success really started to snowball from here. The more evolution points they spent on water mobility perks, the more points they earned and were able to put right back into those upgrades. And they were such efficient hunters that they could support the added...
I'm sorry, it's just sometimes it's a little disconcerting when you go from the mid evolution point to the final. It's like Charmander. I'm a fake fan. Charmeleon, Charizard. Like Charmeleon to Charizard is such a bigger jump than Charizard to Charmeleon. I feel like that's still wrong. Whatever. This is a big boy. This is like a legendary creature. This thing is insane.
Cost of gigantism. Mosasaurus shot up to a dominant top-tier spot faster than almost any other build in the history of the game, outcompeting ichthyosaurs in the process, and driving them to drop their characters entirely in favor of more viable marine builds. Mosasaurus mains had everything they needed to dominate the late Cretaceous meta, so let's go through all the things that made them so broken. Their first OP trait is also their most obvious one, their bite strength, which was on par with that of a T-Rex. It's hard to overstate how devastating a bite from Mosasaurus was, but suffice it to say that the other top-tier ocean predator builds at the time would all get one-shot by the Mosasaurus' bite. Xifactinus, one of the most powerful fish builds in the history of the game, paled in comparison to the Mosasaurus' strength. The Ammonite, a cephalopod that went for a tank-style build, probably had the best armor of any ocean build at that time, but even their shells weren't sturdy enough to save them from the crushing bite of a mosasaur. Obviously, its size was equally as overpowered, but for reasons you might not expect.
So big!
You see, because of its immense size, Mosasaurus wasn't particularly
What the heck?
It generally had to ambush other players in order to land a hit with its overpowered jaws. Even tank builds like the Ammonite could outspeed it if they saw it coming. However, being the biggest ocean build in the entire server has one very important advantage. It gives you control over the surface of the water. See, the surface of the water is one of the most advantageous positions to be in when attempting to ambush another player who is above the surface.
Scared the crap out of me.
The reflective surface of the water grants a massive stealth bonus, making it easy to get within striking range of players who would normally be able to escape easily due to their high mobility.
This video makes me sad.
This is a double-edged sword,
Yeti.
though, as being on the surface of the water leaves you vulnerable not only to attacks from the marine players below, but also from aerial hunters above, both of which there were no shortage of in the Cretaceous meta. This disadvantage is pretty much nullified by the Mosasaurus' size, though.
Yeah, like, good luck picking that chonky boy up if you're a flyer. There's no way. You're like maybe getting a handful of Mosasaurus at best that you can run away with if your talons are big enough. And good luck, because you're risking your damn life to get like that much of the food.
The main enemy of the giant, unkillable behemoth style build, at least in the late game when they've already reached their full size, is starvation, not attacks from players. Mosasaurus abused this tactic to the absolute limit, frequently taking down even the most powerful dinosaur builds in the game if they ever got careless at the water's edge, and also turning the tables on the exact pterosaur builds that specialize in punishing marine players who stray too close to the water's surface.
So cool.
The last important factor in their success is a continuous...
This whole video is just like verifying or validating my wife's fear of the ocean. She's like, Wesley, remember that TierZoo's Mosasaurus video? Yeah. We're not going in the ocean ever again. Those idiotic dinosaurs played with an element they did not understand. They should have just stayed on land. Never get near the ocean. Ever get near the ocean. Just bad things happen in the ocean.
Of the ability that they spec into as lizards.
I'm scared of lakes.
Live
She's scared of
birth.
oceans.
Mosasaurus retained this ability and expanded upon it by speccing into the parental instinct trait. Pretty much the only time Mosasaurus players were ever vulnerable was during the start of their playthrough, when they didn't have the size necessary to shield them from attacks.
Whoa.
This is when the other top-tier ocean builds, like Xifactinus, would launch their assaults on the Mosasaur player base. As smaller lizards, these players would stay in the safety of water that was too shallow for Xifactinus to approach. But even at level 1, Mosasaurus was too large for that, and so without the protection of mother Mosasaur players, Xifactinus would absolutely demolish any hope of survival. But with their help, Mosasaurus' dominion over the Cretaceous ocean meta was basically untouchable. Of course, we all know how the devs reacted to the meta becoming so over-centralized around a select few overpowered builds, but hopefully this video is still useful as an example of how low-tier builds can rise to total dominance with only a few clever build choices and advanced techniques. Who knows what the next breakout success will be in the modern Anthropocene meta? By the way, the Mosasaurus CGI in this video is from a fantastic new documentary called Amazing Dino World.
That's so cool, guys. Mosasaurus is nuts. I can't believe, I mean, I know that dinosaurs weren't, like, probably even aware of Mosasaurus' existence. It's not like they had access to the internet and stuff. But I can't help but project human traits onto them. And I'm like, why did you guys ever go near the water? Why didn't you tell your friends? Why didn't those two T-Rex tell all the rest of the T-Rexes and just be like, hey man, there's this really scary behemoth that one-shot at a brontosaurus in the water. Maybe we just don't go there ever. And they're like, okay, cool. So the T-Rexes all know never to go near the water. Obviously they couldn't do that. And obviously no one ever knew. So of course they would go near the water. But still, this thing's horrifying, man. This thing is so scary. I am glad because where do humans like to hang out in the water? The same area that the Mosasaurus like to spawn. So then it's the shallows, right? So we would all just be getting ganked all the time. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I love TierZoo's content. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Please comment down below other TierZoo videos or other videos in general that you would like to see me react to. And subscribe for more reactions. Y'all are gorgeous. You're beautiful. Have an amazing day. Take care of yourself. I'm Wesley, and I'm